We are
All right,
live.
guys. All right.
It's that time again.
Welcome back to our channel where we get you on the grind and improve your mind. So, in today's live stream, we're going to be analyzing. We're going to go probably for like maybe an hour, hour and a half tops. We're not going to analyze the whole thing because this thing is like 4 hours long. If
Yeah, it's a
if
long,
we
long thing.
decide this is going really well, we'll do a part two. So we'll see how this live stream goes. So we're going to be basically I wouldn't even say critiquing, maybe a little bit, but we're going to be analyzing and kind of reviewing some segments of this stream that went on like maybe last night or 2 nights ago. We're going to give an introspective of from us and share what we think is going on here. So basically, this live stream was by a channel called Fresh and Fit,
The Fresh and
and
Fit
they
podcast.
had like four guys, two and two, like a debate over a variety of topics that seem to be dealing with male self improvement. So we're going to go over. So we're going to analyze some of the things they're talking about and see what's going on here. There's a lot of talk on the internet these days about high value men. What does it mean to be a high value man, and what characteristics do you need to have to qualify? I guess is the word to be
Qualify.
high quality, high value man. So we're gonna get into that now. I guess. I mean, I guess a lot of people think that high value men must have the six sixes, maybe the 6 inch, whatever, the six figures, 6 feet in height, all this. But I think every man has his own individual way of what makes him his own high value man, right? I
Yeah.
think if you're trying to level up every day, I mean, when a man is born out of the womb, you are already a high value man. You're born to be great. The only problem is a lot of you guys allow yourself to be consumed by darkness, and you allow yourself to be consumed by sedation and depression and all these things. So you out of the womb, I think every man is meant to be a leader
They have the
and
potential.
strong. Every man has potential when they come out of the womb, but as they start strong, but as they get older and they get very they get influenced by negative enforcements
Yeah, whether that be
enforcements, and then it goes
society
down with
or whatever.
society or your parents or a
Yeah.
single mom raising you, whatever it may be, or you're just yourself and your insecurities. You degrade yourself. So society is not stopping you from becoming a high value man. You are stopping yourself from becoming a high value man. That is at least my perspective. Mike, what do you think a high value man is?
Yeah, I
That's what the internet's talking about these days. So
high value man. I am a high value man. So yeah,
high value man. It's like
we
Super
are.
Saiyan kind of
Yeah, we
like
are.
when Goku goes into Super Saiyan 3, he is now a high value man. He wasn't before that, but he is now.
Yeah, no, I the high value man thing is I feel like is more of
And all these
something.
all these podcasts are
It's
talking about it now.
yeah,
So
I feel like having to say that you're a high value man, I feel like just uh disproves the point of being a high value man.
I want you to suck my dick. Why? Why should I? Because I'm a high value man. Duh. Now
Like
keep got now go. And she's like, oh my god, yes, high value. And then she's goes balls deep. But
I feel like having to tell people that you're a high value man does not make you a high value man.
yeah, dude, don't be doing that.
I
Yeah.
feel like it's the actions that you set forth and you bring upon the world, whatever pretty much whatever you inflict upon the world, the things that you do, the things that you say, how you move yourself throughout the world. These things contribute to you being high value, and by that is more of being, being a respectful person, um, not being a degenerate. Anything that has to deal with height, anything like that doesn't matter because you can't really control that. The things that you can control are, your looks, as in fashion, as in um hygiene. Those things could contribute. um Sometimes you can also go by status. You can go by things like wealth, like how much money you have, but that it shouldn't. It's not one of the higher ones. It's more of like a. I feel like that's one of more like a mid to lower tier uh characteristic, because I feel like you can still be high value without having a
Yeah.
lot of money.
I think you just got to just live the way you want. I mean, when I wake up and I complete my workout, and put a lot of effort into that,
Yeah.
and I feel stronger. I drink my coffee. I eat healthy foods throughout the day. I see my friends. I inspire good into the world. I make some money, and I'm constantly trying to level up my money and level up in every single thing in my life. I'm having a high value day because I am my own sense of some high valueness, because you are what you perceive yourself to be. And if you're a confident man, and you're already gonna think, you don't need to tell yourself, you just know I'm that guy. I am that guy.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even say high value man. I would just say that guy. You got to be that guy to yourself,
That
and
guy.
those around you will know that you're that guy based on the way you treat yourself. If you treat yourself right, and you're going to treat others right around you, because you know who you are, you know your boundaries, you know your principles, you know who you are, not compared to what you have. Just because you're rich might not mean you got it all, because you can still gamble you can still make you can get drunk in Vegas and gamble your whole life savings away. So
Yeah. Be terrible.
just because you're rich doesn't necessarily mean you're high value. You're high value if you're that guy, and you'll know that guy because you're just live the life the way you want, and you're always going to be trying. You're just very mentally healthy, physically healthy, and you're always trying to be a little bit better. So let's open up this video
so
and
let's go
see what these
to-
guys are talking about. So
So let's bring it up. Let's start going. Thank God they have chapters.
yeah, well, let's start where let's get above the super chat. Okay, let's read some, because I want to point out that these guys make a lot of money off super chats. There are people who build bridges and do construction, and they work very hard, and they don't make anywhere near amount of money as these guys do on the internet with what they do. So I just want to say it's a very interesting world with the internet now. How much money you can actually make on YouTube if you're entertaining and you have a lot of followers, and I mean, this guy, like, we're just in a screenshot right now because the video is paused. Masculine Excellence super chatted $50 to these guys, asking a question and giving their thoughts. $50. The person who makes 20 an hour, let's say, that's 2.5 hours of work for this one question to get the opinion from these guys. That's got to be some kind of power. I mean, $50. So let's just hit the play button and let's just see how many people are super chatting these guys money.
How much in-person father-son time is necessary to raise a virtuous son? That might come up in today's topic.
$5.
Zarino goes, I'd like to hear Sneeko and others answer this. Is Leonardo DiCaprio a high-value man for scoring with 19-year-old models in his late 40s without having kids? Don't worry, we'll talk about that. 0259 goes, I like how Destiny makes fun of extreme RP ideology while he believes a woman's body count don't matter. Okay,
we're gonna get to that today too.
Martin, would you say Destiny fits the description of a placeholder?
This person super chatted twice. Zarino.
Wow.
He super chatted twice.
So that's $60 right there so far.
And he's just coping when he says he's cool with his girl cheating on him. No, whatever, man. Y'all asking me
this is about them guys, not us.
Yeah, come on, man.
Yeah, man.
Derek Stacy, $20. Have y'all looked into the Israel
Adesanya
situation yet?
Stop Bender, the UFC guy with the girl.
Oh, yeah, we'll cover that probably next week.
We will. Yeah.
His
ex-girlfriend.
His ex-girlfriend of 2 years is trying to take half his stuff. No kids, no marriage. Peak Clown World. FNFW, Sneeko, W Destiny, W.
Adesanya, I'll pay for all your lawyer fees to beat this case.
Oh, that's
another
crazy.
$5.
That
we can hold you to it then. Good.
Hey, you're supposed to moderate, man. Be quiet.
So, Martin and Sneeko, vasectomy is not a solution. Better advice would be to make a bunch of money and leave the U.S. Okay. Samuel L. goes, Lyra Gonzalo has been arrested again by Ukrainian SBU at gunpoint. There's a video. He needs your public support and the social pressure to save his life. Please bring attention to this extremely important fact. God help Lyra. God damn, bro.
Is that like for the third time or the second time?
Yes, it's
the second time.
Maybe the last time
that we know about.
They're hating over there in Ukraine.
I saw the second time. I didn't know.
Charlie Jones. Hi, I love Funna. Rolo's explanation of the tweet didn't make sense. He said a high value man is subjective to you, which it's not. Don't worry, we're going to actually define that at the top of the show. High value man is objective based on the marketplace of society. Otherwise, everyone.
So they just made, from like a few seconds of talking and people sending super chats, they just made like more money than a lot of people make an entire workday. Like, that's wow.
Yeah.
I mean, say what you will. I mean, would you guys, is that high value, guys? Let us know in the live chat, the comment section, if you think that's high value, because that's pretty impressive. You got to be doing something right if people are super chatting you like this much, and it keeps going, I think. And this is like every stream every night. Imagine the wealth must be building like crazy. No one, these guys got like 1 million subscribers. It's like,
yeah.
I mean, geez. I mean, wow. There's a lot of jealous people. I mean, I'm not really jealous because it's whatever. I'm kind of just a spectator here. But I can see a lot of people be like, I can't believe they're making so much money and I'm not, kind of thing. I mean, that's kind of what I. People are going to call me coping, but
it kind of makes me want to work harder to get to that point.
Yeah, I'll use as motivation. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely gives me some motivation. And then now you want me to go to the next. Let's go to the introductions, I guess.
So here's a summary of what's going to go on, guys. As you guys know, they have some disagreements on some things. We're going to go ahead and moderate the debate. Me and Fresh will not be jumping in. We are simply going to be here to moderate. We're going to cover 4 main topics: the vasectomy tweet, dual mating strategy, divorce, and promiscuity. But to kick it off, we're going to go ahead and define certain terms: high value man, alpha male, hypergamy. Do you guys want to introduce yourself to the people real quick?
Yeah, real quick. I think probably everybody knows who I am. Roald Tomasi. I'm the author of the 5 books that are the Rational Male series books.
I'm Michael Sartain. I'm a former U.S. military officer. I flew 5 years special ops, 2 years counterintelligence, and now I have a performance coaching program, and then I host a podcast with him where we discuss evolutionary psychology.
Access Vegas.
Cool. That's cool. Uh-oh.
I love.
You don't love anything.
You get the super chats, you get the ad revenue. It really is crazy how much money you can make on YouTube, guys. I just wanted to point that out. It's actually, yeah. I mean, this is like the new wave of making money out here. It's very cool.
Destiny.
I'm Steve Bunnell. I host politics, YouTube, philosophy YouTube, and video games on YouTube, youtube.com/Destiny. I've been doing this for about 13 years.
Jeez.
All right.
Sneeko, canceled streamer on Rumble, and certified douche nozzle.
There you go.
That is correct.
Fantastic. So, guys, all the chats are going to be shown on screen. However, we're only going to read the ones that are 100 and up, just so that we can make sure that we get through this debate. So, first, we're going to start with defining what a high value man is, alpha male, and hypergamy.
That actually is a good way to get people to make you get people to pay $100 to you is to tell them that the only way that they're going to talk, like they're going to talk, say your super chat, is by only donating. Anyone that donates $100 or more.
Damn.
So, and I mean, like, it's a good thing that they do that, because if they didn't and they just went through every single super chat, this 4-hour live stream could have been like 10 hours.
You know what? They just hit the right algorithm. They got the right audience, and they did. You know, you can't knock the hustle. If it works,
Definitely
it works.
not.
I mean,
Yeah.
people voluntarily send their own money on these super chats, so someone must be benefiting from this.
Exactly.
And then we're going to come to basically an agreed upon definition for the table, so that way nothing is lost in translation during the course of the conversation. We already got 20,000 y'all in here, so do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and then subscribe to
20,000 people
everyone's
in the live
channel here. Sneeko on Rumble, Destiny on YouTube,
Access
Rolo
Vegas
on YouTube,
Rolo.
and Michael Sartain on YouTube as well. Their links are below. And then,
much
so we'll go ahead and who wants to kick it off with defining high value man?
Before we define things, I wrote like 6 things down so we can all agree on things. So we have like a common base going forward. Okay. Okay. So I wrote 6 rules that I hope we can all kind of adhere to for this conversation.
Yes.
So for the first one, all of us here are trying to approach some notion of what is true in terms of what we're analyzing. We're not here to make fun of each other, scream at each other, be emotional, whatever, but we're trying to figure out what the most true shit is, essentially, right? Number 1. Number 2, I personally think we should move through arguments point by point, rather than like diatribing for 5 or 10 minutes, so that the other time, because you don't want to start off a point where somebody already disagrees and then talk for another 5 or 10 minutes. And so if I'm saying something, or Sneeko's saying something, or you guys saying something, if you disagree, just be like, hey, let's talk about this thing before we rattle on a ton. Okay. Number 3, because I hear this accusation a lot. If anybody feels like there's a debate tactic in the room, call it out. And we've got the moderators here. If somebody feels like they're straw manning or appealing to emotion or false authority or whatever, so like, hey, hold on, I don't like that. Point it out. Nobody should be leaving here and then in 2 weeks being like, there was a lot of debate tactics going on. Call it out if you see it, and we'll address it right here.
Yep.
Okay. Number 4, we've kind of already addressed this. So words have to have meaning. We're having these conversations. So even if we want to say that a feeling about a particular word is subjective or whatever, we all have to agree on that. Otherwise, we're going to be lost in the sauce if we're all like arguing, I
know this doesn't mean anything, but I just don't like how Destiny looks. It doesn't mean anything. And by it doesn't mean anything, it means like in scope of like the conversation and the debate and anything like that, it holds no substance. I just wanted to point that out just because I feel it's just so hard to look at him. I don't know. I'm sorry, Destiny. If you ever see this and you get offended by that, I'm sorry. Just deal with it.
What does it mean to be alpha or beta? And we all have like 4 different definitions working. Okay. And then 2 more. 5 is trying to keep this as scientific as possible. So if somebody says like, well, there was a study in England with 33 million participants, and another guy's like, well, on Instagram, I saw 2 stories. Okay, let's try to keep it like as, I know you do a lot of scientific stuff. I know you've done a lot of reading. Sneeko is very scientific here with his Quran. So let's try to keep it as based as possible.
Like that.
Oh, I'm so sorry. My bad. Okay, and then final point. If some side feels like they're not being understood, or if they feel like their points are being misconstrued, ask the other side to just like state like, hey, what do you think I just said? Or hey, what do you think I think about this particular thing? And then the other side will try to restate the argument so that we're all on the same page. Okay. So roughly speaking, just to keep it. Yeah. Okay.
No,
we all cool?
This guy's a lot of demands, but I think they're perfectly accurate or perfectly okay.
Definitely, and we'll stay away from that homonyms and keep it as cordial as possible. Cool. So yeah, we'll start with.
And now we lost half of the viewers.
All right, so we'll start with defining what a high value man is, and then also real quick, when we're making arguments, whatever, I'll be timing you guys at least on the vasectomy part. We're going to cover that first. But let's define what a high value man is.
Mention how this started from last show or no?
No, they know.
Okay, cool.
Trust me, there's 20,000 people they know.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. All right, so let's define high value man. Who wants to take the first crack at it so everyone at the table can agree what it is?
I'll go.
I barely know.
If you guys want me to go. So, of course, everybody wants to like nail me on what's a high value man. Okay. So I could have said this on our last engagement here, is that a high value man is the man that other men want to be and other women want to fuck. That's straight out of I think it was my third book or my second book. Okay. That's too broad a definition, I think. So I could have just simply said that. People ask me all the time in the tweet or on Twitter and social media afterwards, like, why didn't you just simply say that? Okay. Well, problem with that is because once you get past that, it's a little bit too broad of a definition. So I did a little bit of homework on the way over here on the plane. And we generally go to, the female delusion calculator on our show. And you guys have used the female delusion calculator as well. So what is a high value man? Well, we've asked that question quite a bit from pretty much every girl that we've had on our show. Now, should it be defined by women? Maybe, maybe not, but there's a criteria there that forms the basis, I would say, like just the core principle of what is a high value man. So when we go through that, we go and say, okay, well, how tall is that guy? How much money does that guy make? What is his, is he obese? Is he like, and they're very specific,
you guys don't be obese.
Detail.
We don't like being obese, guys. Don't do it.
Do not
that go into that. And then
if you are, at least know that you need to fix yourself and put in the work.
It is not high value to be obese, guys.
Yeah,
Stop.
and if you put in the work and you start losing the weight, we applaud you. Very much so.
Through that, we say, okay, well, that represents what, like 0.02% of the population.
Yeah, I mean, if you're specific, we're talking about the GSS survey, or not the GSS.
No, CDC,
the CDC stuff,
and census stuff. So we always, and you guys do the same thing when we are looking to establish what is a high value man, at least as far as what women are looking for at that time. And I'm not saying that there's another definition for guys as well. As I said, it's other men want to be and other women want to have sex with.
So what parameters would you?
Exactly. Good question. Now, you guys, right around the first year of your show here, you had Kevin Samuel sitting right here, and one of the things he said is that the guy must make something like $10,000 a month, I believe is what it was.
Roughly, yeah.
Roughly. So that comes out to $120,000 a year. Can we agree that if you make $120,000 a year, would that make, like, as far as money is concerned, would that make you a high value guy?
I think it depends on where you are. Like if you're in Manhattan, I think that would be problematic. If you're in Wichita, Kansas, that's a lot of money.
Okay, so
I think, can we hit? I'll give a very broad definition. I think we can all agree on this. I think in the broadest sense, when we talk about men, we talk about what a high value man is. We think about what men are designed to do. I think that a high value man is somebody that can partition or acquire a lot of resources.
Okay,
in the broadest of senses, and that can be done in a lot of ways.
Do we want to put a specific number on those resources?
I think a lot is relative, so it's going to be more than your fellow guy. Right, so if you make $120,000 a year in Kansas, you're the fucking king.
Correct.
True. If you make $120,000 a year in San Francisco, your neighbor is probably a crackhead. Right?
Yeah. So
it just depends on
your argument last time was the subjectivity of what you were saying, and that's the thing.
And
no matter what number we say is a subjectivity. For me, high value man is going to be the guy who puts fitness first. He's going to have a job that's scalable, where he's doing something that he loves, and he's going to have his options on what woman that he can date. Now, if you were to look at that and say, like, for instance, I like Greg Gallagher. I'm a big fan of How to Beast. Brandon Carter's a buddy of mine. Wes Watson, Goggins, what's his name? Jocko Willink. Those guys I consider to be high value men. The thing is, though, if Greg Gallagher is dating a woman with breast implants and fucking plastic surgery, another person who has different religious beliefs is going to be like, no, that's haram. That's bad. So that's the thing. It's the subjectivity of it.
Sure. I think important to keep in mind is when we say value, we're implying some sort of exchange between multiple people. So
Right.
like a moral man or a virtuous man might be way different than a high value man. We can all probably think of people that are very virtuous or moral.
Wouldn't someone
right?
virtuous who goes by the Quran then have a different definition? Like, for instance, you guys had an argument before about family creation. If several of those guys I just mentioned, they are not interested in family creation. They're interested in being the most attractive versions of themselves they can be. So you would have one person say, this is not a high value man. They would call that person a joke. And another guy would be like, yo, man, I have been used by women my whole life. I've been broke my whole fucking life. And I see this guy and he's fucking killing it. That's a high value man. The subjectivity of it is like something like when you.
I don't think it's as subjective as you're making it. I don't think religious people would really disagree about that. I just don't think that. And this is where a red pill kind of hits the wall because it doesn't go past just how much money you make. So,
yeah, like I think something that's really important.
That's just one aspect of what a high
the
value
subjectivity
man
part
is.
comes in, I think, when it comes.
I think the most important part, just like what I said before, it's not about what you have necessarily. I'm sure it can impact things, but it's about really who you are and what kind of social intelligence do you possess, and are you working on getting better, becoming smarter, and becoming more emotionally intelligent. It's about it really is about who you are and what you represent to yourself and the world in itself, because that's going to determine everything. Your willpower, your mentality, the way you think, the way you move, the way you talk, it's going to impact your life patterns, and it's going to impact those around you. And you really have to do a lot of soul searching. I think that one of the biggest problems is that we sedate ourselves so much that we don't even live in the real world. We live in this fake world of dopamine that we create for ourselves, and we try to avoid anything that has to do with us and actually becoming better and working things. Instead of doing the chores around the house, people get lost on Twitter and TikTok scrolling all day, and we really have consumed. We've gone on consuming way too much. But so when I see these guys arguing about what is a high value man, I mean, is there really everyone is so different. So how hard, it's kind of really hard to give I think there was like 20,000 people watching this at one time. It's hard to give 20,000 people advice on how to be, so I think a lot of this is for entertainment, a little bit more entertainment.
Yeah, because like what they were saying before, I feel like what Rolo said before, actually, because like the broadest version should be the best version, because if you get too specific, it's not going to fit certain people. And I mean, like, maybe it shouldn't fit certain people, but everyone goes through things differently, right? And so I feel like if you broaden it enough, people can make it thin as possible for themselves. They can make it go to fit them where they want to be, the goals wise, right? If you leave it broad, at least you don't have to have it super broad, but broad enough that gives everyone the playroom to be like, okay, this can be attainable. Let me work on specific things that can get me there. Let me do this. Let me do that. Instead of because like people sitting here at a table trying to decipher what is the definition of this so we can get to the next point. I feel like it's just a lot of wasted time. And I feel like it's just a matter of we should be focusing on the broad standpoints and try to thin it out as much as possible before it gets too thin, because you're wanting to teach people, these 10-20,000 people that are on the live stream, that are in that live stream, where they're not all going to fit a specific one, but if you leave it broad enough, they can fit into something where it works for them perfectly to actually get them to where they want to be, high value wise.
Yeah, I just hope that whatever you guys are consuming, I hope it's really helping you self-improve. I hope watching this, to the guys who follow this stuff like religiously, like watch it every day, and so I really hope you guys are benefiting and not wasting time. I hope that pinpoints the things that they're saying is actually actively improving your life and not making you like angry in any kind of way or making you upset, depressed. I hope the stuff they say are genuinely impacting you. So make sure whatever content creator you watch, try to make sure they're helping you in some kind of way. Unless you really just want the entertainment, you really just want people to bash others, and you just want the drama, then fine. But once again, these guys go like hours of streams like every single day. So if you really are in it for the entertainment, don't watch every episode. because you're just going to waste so much time doing that. And that's time you could be working on yourself and actually getting your own stuff done. So don't fall into too much. Don't go down the hole too much.
Yeah.
So just everything in moderation if you're going to consume this content.
Exactly.
Even with us, I watch as much as possible, but if you can't watch every video and you have a life and you got to do things, I'd understand.
Yeah.
Just
Exactly.
try to just like that. Smash that like button. That's all you got to do.
Yeah. Exactly. Subscribe.
Comes to, if we use my broad definition of resource acquisition, the subjective part is, what do you need to acquire resources? So for instance, we say fitness, right? Fitness could be a proxy for acquiring resources. If you're hunting in the wilderness, a more fit guy can climb a tree, kill a bear, whatever. Yeah. But in some societies, fitness isn't a proxy for how much money you make, right? I imagine that on average, there's probably a lot of really wealthy people that are not, I don't know how much Bill Gates can bench press, right? But for resource acquisition, he's very, very, very valuable. So, and then also, I think we have to keep in mind, when I say high value, and I know Rollo likes to do this a lot, and so I'm going to try to play in this realm. I'm not trying to morally load any of these words. A high value man. So this question got asked, right?
You mean just supply and demand?
Yeah. So Epstein was a high value man.
Yeah, okay.
But obviously morally a horrible character,
course,
right?
Okay.
And there's going to be a lot of high value people that have a lot of value in society in terms of how much resource they can demand, right? Or Genghis Khan or whatever, who are morally deplorable people. And there's going to be a lot of very morally righteous people, virtuous people, who don't really possess a lot of value. Maybe it's a carpenter, or maybe
if
it's
I can intervene real fast. I think one thing that we can all agree to, right, is I agree that it's immoral, right? A guy being high value. So it could be someone
or
like
amoral.
Amoral. It could be, someone that's good or bad. But I would say this: respected by peers, has a skill set, he has a network of successful men around him, and we could say $100,000 per year. But let's say if you make $100,000 per year, and let's say like maybe a Kansas living type quality.
Sure. So those are all subjective, but we'd all probably agree in the West.
So
that'll get you to probably.
So I would
I
say
thought we'd agree on the vector.
That comes closer.
Yeah, sure.
I mean.
Yeah.
We'd agree on the vector.
True.
And you seem to be agreeing with Myron now, but you also said last time that Elon Musk is not a high value man. Ben Shapiro
from a particular context. No, he's not.
From what context?
Well, from the context that he is not married, is a high value man married.
That has nothing to do with being married or not.
Well, it does to the definition that other people
Do you think other people think that being a high value man would have some correlation to being married and having?
I'd say you should not care about what other people's definition about high value man is. Don't care about what.
Yeah, I'm honestly sitting here just trying to figure out why they're caring so much. I mean, like, I understand why they're caring, because they want to have this debate, and so they're trying to use these specific words, because they explained it right in the beginning.
But it's like, if Mike thinks a high value man is XYZ, and I'm just like, Mike, what do you mean is even? Then it just makes you look dumb. Like, cool, Mike. Whatever makes you stronger at the gym. Yeah, cool. I'm gonna think my own way. Everyone got their own individualism, So I stop caring what other people think, guys. Like, to a certain degree, like, for certain jobs and stuff. But in general, just stop caring. Stop it.
Have kids.
I would say
some people would say
because the tweet that I made, everybody had a very big problem with not focusing on family creation or not getting married. So is a high value man married?
People saw it as advice.
Like, I think for the purpose of this debate, we want to probably keep it as simple as possible, so that it isn't extremely nuanced definition. I think if the person is married or not, shouldn't matter. I think it should be on things that we can all mutually agree, like, okay.
Or how about we can agree that a person of high value probably has the ability to get married and have a lot of children, but they might not necessarily.
If they choose not to do so, that's on them.
Yeah.
And going back to morality, I think that's a fantastic point. Even though someone like Epstein is a deplorable individual, on paper, he had a network of high net worth people. He had politicians in his pocket. He had quite a bit of money. He had a skill set.
He probably had a vasectomy too.
Yeah, probably.
Shout out to the CIA. Shout out to the CIA.
He did have a skill set by now. He did have a skill set, and he earned a good amount of money. So on paper, he's a high value guy, and I think that's something that we can all agree to. So we can. Fair enough. Okay, so we'll go off of respected by peers, has a skill set, network of other successful people around him. Morality doesn't matter, and we could say $100,000, if not more. And when we talk about $100,000, we don't mean $100,000, but we mean the ability to live in a certain way.
No. Cost of living adjustment.
Yeah, cost of living adjustment.
Consistently.
Can I take? Oh, you're probably going to say the same thing I'm going to say.
Go ahead.
Okay, but he also has to be useful.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Utilities.
Yes.
Okay.
So competency. Yeah.
Right. So there's a competency. So is a high value man educated?
Educated could be many different avenues. You can go many different avenues. You can go college educated. You can go self-educated. Just street smart, like those types of things. As long as he is competent, knows ins and outs of certain things that are, that actually mean something to what he's trying to do, I feel like that's perfectly fine. But let's see what they're going to talk about.
competency again is going to be valued by society. So, for instance, I can change a light bulb, but I can't fix a toilet. So my competency in the household is going to be relatively low. But as an entertainer, my competency is very high. That happens to be valued by society right now. In another society, I might just be left for dead in the woods. So competencies and same.
So again,
you can probably find
who's doing the
exactly. You can find the best hunter possible in sub-Saharan Africa and bring him to the United States, and he's not going to do shit.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't think education has to be a component. I think if they're like a doctor,
education could be a way towards competency. There's lots of different ways you can build competency, right?
Okay, cool. So is that fair with all you guys?
Yeah, competency.
So one more time. So just to define for the audience here, when we talk about high value guy, we're talking about someone that's respected by the peers, has a skill set, has competence, has a network of other successful men that respect them, and we'll say $100,000 per year, bare minimum, based on living a certain way. Not necessarily $100,000 per se, but 100K per year, just so you guys have a placeholder. Now we go into alpha male. I mean, I don't use this. We don't use this term that often, but I mean, just for the purposes
of space, use it a lot.
Well, that's why we're talking about high value male, because that's kind of what has replaced alpha male over the years. Like when I first started writing, it was all about alpha, alpha, alpha. And then like right around 2017, 2018, everybody started using high value male.
So do you guys want to just use HVM as the same?
Yeah,
I'm going to fight.
I think Kevin Samuels made it popular for the most part.
So just HVM.
I'm probably going to fight in particular in alpha male, but that's going to be later because he wants to do the vasectomy talk first. So
okay, but how do you want to define alpha male then? So we have.
I don't know. I'll ask them later because that's a whole line of questioning.
Okay. And then hypergamy. How do you guys want to define hypergamy?
Let me do one more real quick on the useful side of things, because I had a list of other things here. So it was like, as far as being useful and educate, I wanted to ask the education question. The other thing is, you got to be productive. Obviously, you got to be at least a productive member of society. Would that also be included in the conventional?
It is, but all of these things are proxies for value. So again, I'm very productive, but it's just because people like entertainment. In another society, I would have no production.
And that's where the respect comes in, because your productivity will align to some.
And then the other aspect of this is recognition. So people, when they see you, they understand that you are high value in some way. Like they go,
almost every human is wired for resources.
Exactly, but we're also plugging that person into a hierarchy.
Well, I think it depends on which hierarchy. Like he said before, he goes to a mechanic shop.
That's the subjective thing that we're talking about.
An extreme example would be like Stephen Hawking, right? Who had motor neuron disorder, was relegated to a wheelchair, but was one of the smartest men who ever lived. That would be an example of someone who's super competent, but in other areas isn't competent. I would consider him a high value man, but he couldn't walk. So that's an interesting. That's what the subjectivity of it.
All right, cool. So I guess
that guy's cool. I don't really know who the hell he is, but he's cool.
Alpha male will deal for later. And then hypergamy, how do you guys want to define that just so we understand here? Because I mean, it's an ever-growing term. It used to be the practice of marrying up originally. So how do you guys want to do it?
Okay, so let me just see if I can define terms here. Okay, so the classic understanding, if you go and you look in the dictionary, you go to Wikipedia right now, the classic understanding of hypergamy, to the letter, is it was a term that was used by a sociologist. I want to say he was in the 1950s, and he was studying the caste system in
India.
In Hindu cultures, and how the tendency for women to marry from a lower caste to a higher caste. That was based primarily on the socioeconomic status of that person and that family and everything else, and that's the original idea came from. So it's based primarily on sort of like the provisioning, protection, and parental investment. It's dowries, it's marriage, it's the formalization of like a relationship. In the last, I would say, 20 some odd years, we broadened the definition of hypergamy to include the alpha fucks beta buck side of things. Okay, so there is the short-term sexual side of things, because women mate up, across, and up, as well as marry across and up. And as far as the definition is concerned, I've been trying to do this myself, right, is to expand the definition. But also people like Jordan Peterson have been using that expanded definition for probably going on another 5 or 6 years right now.
Okay. So
that would be my definition of it.
Can I?
Okay. So to boil it down, will we say the practice of marrying and or dating up when it comes to socioeconomic
attempt.
The attempt.
So this is so I'm going to come from an evolutionary standpoint. There is some algorithm that
I think a lot of insecure men will worry about this term called hypergamy because they think they're not good enough. Well, if women always marry up, that mean and I'm not that great of a guy, so that she's never gonna love me. She's gonna go on to a better guy. Now, a lot of insecure guys will let that get to them. Don't let those kind of words.
That's also kind of victim mentality.
Yeah, but unfortunately, a lot of guys do think that way, so it's very unfortunate.
Yeah,
and so don't let these words scare you. By the way. So just because you got, once again, it's about self-confidence and you got to be secure within yourself. And you remember, like I said before, you want to be that guy. You are that guy no matter what. You are who you are. And these words should not make you angry. They should not, simple abundance mindset fixes that. So let's keep going.
Men, Homo sapien males have to where they can see a woman and be like, that woman's attractive immediately. It's not something that's taught to them. They know immediately that woman is attractive.
The boner test.
She passes exactly very quickly. There must be some correlating algorithm in a female psychology to determine the men she finds attractive or would consider having sex with, and the men she doesn't. Now that is going to be more complicated because for women, there are so many more things. What we talk about in statistics, negative kurtosis. There are so many more things that women are attracted to about men. The book, Why Women Have Sex by David Buss and Cindy Messon lists 237 reasons why women choose to have sex, whereas for men, it's like 4. So because of that algorithm, that complicated evolutionary algorithm is hypergamy. That's what I would consider it. It is the way by which women sift which guy I like from which guy I don't like. It must exist just like it exists in men. So that's the way I would pose it.
All right, would it be fair to say it's sifting up though, right?
Yes,
it's not sifting, just sifting. It's sifting up
because her evolutionary imperative is to find the strongest son that she can. So that strongest son is going to deal with some competency or some physicality that man has that she's choosing him for.
All right. Is that fair for you guys?
I accept the definition. Yeah.
You accept that definition? All right.
I agree.
So a quick little recap. So we went over this, defining the terms. We went over high value men. We say about $100,000 when it comes to cost of living of a certain way, respected by your peers, having a skill set network of successful individuals around you, competence, and it is amoral. So even someone like Jeff Epstein, even though he's a terrible person, he would be considered a high value man on paper, just so that we have it.
Can you say
defined. Epstein? Whatever. Epstein, doesn't matter. He's one of them boys anyway. He's one of them boys. Who cares?
Listen, he faked his own death. He's fine. Whatever.
And then
we don't know about that.
I'm kidding.
Hypergamy is the attempt,
allegedly
to mate up or sifting up and having filters for men. And then alpha male I guess that's a bridge we'll cross when we get there. So I guess we'll open up the discussion here, guys, with obviously the infamous tweet. Let's pull it up real quick, Chris. We got 28K y'all watching. So
like the video, man. Sub to the channel.
We'll probably have to kill the Facebook and Twitter stream here very soon. But come on over to YouTube, guys.
Doesn't that get you banned off of Twitter for cuck?
Or
Twitch for cuck?
Yeah, I think so.
We're banned on Twitch anyway.
Yeah. Okay, guys. So this was Rolo's tweet. So I'm gonna read it real quick for y'all. The quickest path to becoming a high value man. Number 1, do not get married. Number 2, avoid family creation. Number 3, vasectomy in your 20s. Number 4, lift consistently. Number 5.
So I just hope a lot of young guys are not looking at these kind of advice tweets, although he claims it's not an advice tweet, but a lot of people will
take it as that.
Instead interpret it as a advice tweet anyway. It's just be careful how well your audience follows you and how legit they take your advice, whatever you call it, fine. I would not encourage people to get a vasectomy in the 20s because a lot of, the mind changes from age 20 to 30, and it could be irreversible. So just be careful. Once again, be careful who you follow and be careful the advice that you follow on the internet. Hopefully, most people are just not that dumb in order to just say, okay, if I want to become a high value man, vasectomy. Okay, cool. Bye. They can have kids, depressed. Oh, he told me that, just don't be dumb.
Yeah, like vasectomies.
Hopefully, you're not retarded, and hopefully, you will not just take that.
Vasectomies have a higher chance of being reversible than anything else, but it's not always 100% guaranteed. So you need to be careful on that. You have to know that you don't want it to do it. The only thing I see on here that actually, there's a couple things that I see on here.
Do not get married. I mean.
It really depends. I mean,
it just depends on who you are. That's all.
I mean, do not get married to someone that you barely know.
Don't be an idiot and marry someone within 3 months. Don't be a moron.
Yeah, don't be.
You have to have social. You have to have common sense.
The things that I see on here that are very important: lift consistently, eliminate all sedations, learn game and network, play to your strengths, build wealth, resisting easing up on your focus. Those are probably the most important things I see on here. Those are the things that you should just be doing all the time, and should just be something that you just put in your routine. Lifting, going to the gym once a day.
But maybe this tweet is just to make people think more. Maybe there's more to it.
There's probably so much more to it.
We will let the author speak on it.
Yeah.
Eliminate all sedations. Number 6, learn game and networking. Number 7, play to your strengths and build wealth. And then number 8, resist easing up on your focus. So I guess I'll turn it to
the author.
Ro, do you want to?
Sure. Okay. So I think we have already established the fact that to be a high value man, we have a sort of a convention, at least somewhat of a conventional definition of that right now. Now, how long would it take the average guy to achieve what we would in some way say this is what makes you a high value guy? It doesn't have to be the $120,000, but like the functional evaluated equivalent of that. I think it takes longer for men,
for sure,
to get to reach maturity and to reach a point of where they get their maximum, they can maximize their potential.
Well, let's stick to the science, because that's what he wanted. Number one, we had Richard Reeves on, and he talked about boys being 1 or 2 years behind women as far as development is concerned, and also from the book Dataclysm, men reaching their sexual peak around, or attractiveness peak around.
That's an interesting take. Technically, only a woman can describe what is a high value man.
Interesting take, but I disagree, because I will define how high value I am as a. I don't care. I don't really care just me. I don't really care what a woman thinks. I care about what I think, and my opinion is law.
That's completely.
But I see what you're saying.
In a sexual marketplace, I feel that that would make sense. In the sexual marketplace standing,
any woman who does not see me as a high value man, you have lost. You have lost me. You have failed. You are missing out on the greatest piece of dick you'll ever get in your life. So don't even ever. Rejecting me is the worst decision you'll ever make. You're missing out on good stuff right here, and I'm gonna let you be free. I'm gonna let you be. You go. I'm on the stage of my life. You go fuck whoever you want. I don't body count. I don't care. Do what you want. I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna do my thing no matter what. So if you reject me, you're missing out. So
age of 38 to 43, somewhere in that area.
Yeah.
So that's science behind what you're saying. It would take longer for men.
But my point being is that, and I'll reiterate this one more time. The reason why I put this out there is because I watched you guys with Derek Moneyberg, and I think it was Brandon Carter. Who was on here. And Brandon Carter, I'm really impressed with Brandon Carter. I think he's funny. He's a great guy. But his sort of outlook on life is to maximize his efficiency, his potential. So it's he doesn't go to the grocery store. He doesn't own a car. He doesn't, the things that would take him away from staying on his grind. I mean, to the extreme. Now, this is an extreme that I would not do, clearly, because I have a wife of 27 years. I have a daughter of 25 years. I am who I am. I do what I do.
You have a car.
Right? So I have a car. Yeah, actually, I got two. I do have a car. So clearly, this is not about me. This is the most over the top, absurd, extreme example.
You also have a kid. I think we all should point
exactly.
that out.
So Brandon Carter.
Who's Brandon Carter?
The guy you're talking about.
You don't know Brandon
You
Carter?
know Brandon Carter?
Really?
You've been on the show with Brandon.
No. He said he has a kid. He was just saying yes.
He also has a kid.
Yeah.
Yes, I understand.
Sorry.
But the idea is that the most over the top, like, what are you willing to sacrifice to get to the point so that you can get to that state of being a high value male, right? So, by the way, when I'm putting out the idea of vasectomy, okay, keep it coming, because I love that one. But if there was a male birth control pill, I probably would have put that in there as well, because what that one section in there was meant to say is that beware of, like, when the sperm leaves your body, you lose all power over paternity and children and everything else. That's one of the things that really slows guys down. It's a hindrance to becoming to getting up to becoming a high value guy. So family creation. I'm not saying you should do these things, but if you want to get to the quickest way to doing those things, because it takes longer for men to mature into their peak potential, then these are the sacrifices that you're going to have to make to get to it as fast as you possibly can.
I feel like Sneako's probably going to take off from this, because when I came into these spaces, this is kind of a question that I had, and I think I fought with Fresh and Fit, I think, a lot on our first couple episodes, trying to figure out, like, what are you guys advocating for? So when I would bring up, like, Andrew Tate tweets and Bugattis and all that shit, a lot of the times these two clowns would tell me, they'd say, oh, this stuff's just a proxy for...
Bruh, why are you disrespecting these guys on their own shit, bro? You're a guest.
I guess they don't get along that well.
Man, look. Oh man.
Success. You don't actually need the Bugatti. You need the ability to buy the Bugatti. You don't need to travel the world. You need
look at this dude with $100.
to have freedom, and all these things. So
he's lucky we're moderating.
Yeah, man. So it seems like, it feels like
Lamborghinis.
It feels like, the goal initially wasn't to, like, be the richest motherfucker in the world. The goal was to have the freedom to basically do what you want.
Right.
And then I think the confusing part is, it feels like there's this kind of schism happening right now, or it's already started to happen in the Red Pill community, where you've got like the kind of trad people that are going in one direction, and then you've got like the grind set hustle culture that are going in the other direction. And it feels like the lightning point for this was your tweet, where it was like, okay, we're going to make it clear where we stand. Get a fucking vasectomy, fuck family, and do this shit. And I think that it feels like the ultimate red pillar to you guys is what this is a feeling I have. The ultimate red pillar is a guy that grinds his fucking life away, and then at 35, he's like got fucking 15 million in the bank. He's fucked 50 girls, and now he's looking for like the best mom that he can find, who's like 20, 21 years old. He's going to get with that girl, 0-1 body count at the most, maybe 1, 0 at the best, right? Virgin girl gets with her, has a family, and then boom, that's like his life. Whereas it feels like on the kind of traditional side, it's like, well, what if you were like 24 and found a really good woman at 22, and then you had a family at 25 and you followed your career, she stayed at home, took care of the kids, and you followed that more traditional route. And your tweet, I think, really showed the division of people in terms of how they felt about which of the two lifestyles people were actually aiming for.
You got it.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And Sneeko can.
Yeah. So what do you
Rolo sounded like he was like a happy father. He's like, oh, you got it. Excellent.
exactly do you believe in? Like, do you think that is the life that you should follow? Because when you go to the red pill spaces, that's pretty much the end route, is because you're high value, you got a bunch of Lamborghinis, you're extremely rich. And we talk about competence when it comes to a high value man. Like I didn't have a rich dad growing up, and that didn't really hinder his competence. And in fact, in a lot of ways, being a father will help you become more competent because other people are dependent and you're responsible for them. So that will make you become a full, capable man, which is, I think, the most important part of life. It's the most important part of life is not having a bunch of hoes, not fucking 50 girls, or getting the most amount of money possible, just hustle, grinding forever. The reason that we are here is to have a family, is to create. And so you see the red pill, and it's a response to feminism. You see this doomer way, like all these girls are hoes, all these girls on Instagram, they're all thoughts, whatever, they all belong to the streets. And so the reaction to that is the red pill, which is basically feminism, just male feminism. It's the same response. We make fun of girls who say that they want to freeze their eggs and wait till they're 35, and then men are giving the same advice to each other, saying, and I know you're not saying that's advice, but pretty much, like, if you look at the definition of advice, that's what that tweet was.
Yeah. So I think there's two things here. We specifically don't run around calling girls 304s. And like I actually have a problem with it because I hear you sometimes.
If you're just randomly calling girls hoes, you're not going to really get laid. You need to have a mouthpiece. You need to have game. You got to be a little bit smooth in order to make these girls wet. You can't just be calling them hoes. If anything, girls don't like to be judged. You know, they don't want to feel judged. So if you come in like in a judgmental way, they're going to feel a little like because girls really care about their reputation, what others think of them, and they don't want to be with a guy who's going to kiss and tell everywhere. And a lot of girls are so discreet and very, very stealthy. I mean, like I was on a date the other day, and then the girl was it was a certain type of it was like an older woman, and she didn't want to kiss being seen because we were in a neighborhood. It was like people she knew people like around, so it was very discreet. But I mean, we were smashing in the back seat. But that's all. Your girls are just very stealthy. That's the moral lesson.
Talk about the audience there. We have to separate the audience, almost like Christ, Christianity, and the church. We have to separate the audience, because I agree with you. There's some shit that I see that people write on your streams as well, where I'm like, what the fuck is this, man? This is crazy, and I don't want to be associated with it. Red pill is not, and again, I'm red pill adjacent. Red pill is not something I get a union card for that I pay dues for. It's an ethereal thing that just sort of exists. Like he calls it a praxeology. So the idea that like one of the things that's happened is every time, because he calls himself the godfather of it, when somebody does some stupid shit in the arena, then it's his fault. And then now we're going to punch his book. Cause now the thing is, it's just a cloud, but then there's a book. Okay. Now we have a physical thing to attack. And now Rolo has a tweet. Now we have a physical thing to attack. And so that's part of the issue, is that like now he's being held accountable for every, and I agree with you. Some of the things you hear are fucking idiotic.
Over the top. Yeah.
Right. Because here's an example. When we go over the psychological studies that show that men don't have the same, they don't necessarily cheat more because they had more higher body count, but women do. They tend to be unhappy in a relationship. There's the Institute for Family Studies study that we refer to all the time. That's not a validation for cheating. We're not suggesting men cheat. You said that in the response thing that I definitely do not think men should cheat, because in that whole situation,
let's talk about that real quick. Men don't cheat. Only males cheat. Only guys who feel like they need to lie and be stealthy from women. Guys who are actually afraid of women. Why? What are you doing? Only those kind of guys cheat. I can't. I'm not really happy in my relationship, and I'm a pussy, and I just want some quick head, and I just want to be with this one girl, but I can't let my wife find out. Otherwise, my entire life is ruined. You don't even know yourself enough to know that you can't even be faithful to a girl. That's how much game you have. You're supposed to be knowing yourself before you get married and stuff. But if you know you're not meant to be with one girl, or if you know that your biology be hating on you and you want to smash multiple chicks and stuff, you can't. A lot of guys are just not meant to be with a, it's just how it is. So only males are afraid of girls. Like if I worst case scenario, if I'm married to a chick, I'm gonna just tell her, listen, I just been having urges lately, and I'm gonna have sex with another girl, and hate me, maybe it's not meant to work. Worst case scenario, by the way, you should really be finding girls that you're really compatible with in every way. Right. But I'll be like, listen, I'm not gonna lie to you, but I might just start smashing other chicks. So I'm just gonna let you know, and you're gonna be upset. It's all good. Do whatever you want. I'm gonna do this. Like, at least be honest. It's better than lying and being deceiving.
Exactly.
Yeah. Just make sure you get into the right relationships. Don't do it because you want to lock a girl down. Just make sure you know who you are and make sure you're ready to actually commit to a woman. So cheating.
Cheating is dumb.
Yeah, men don't cheat.
Men don't cheat.
Men know if they want to be faithful or not. They know what it is.
Yeah, they just cheating equals deception and disgust. So just don't do it.
Still lying. That is a lack of integrity, regardless. But do men have the ability to have more sexual partners early on in life? I was 20 years old. I'm 45 now. I was 20 years old at once. And there was a point in my life where I was going to UT Austin and I wanted to have sex with attractive women. And I didn't think about anything else except doing that. That's how my brain worked. And later on, did it affect me negatively? I don't think it did. I just don't think it had the same thing. So I don't think it's a rationale for that belief. But the thing is, what happens is anytime something bad happens or somebody says something stupid, it just comes back. It's like, now all red pillars are saying this all the time. And I just don't agree with that.
I understand what you're saying here. So first, let me clarify one thing. So I understand.
Should we define the red pill?
No, I don't think that's going to take all night.
How long? Next week.
So I think the issue with Rollo's tweet, because for a lot of people it looks like advice, and for Rollo, he feels like it wasn't advice. I think the reality was, the disconnect is that that tweet was advice, but it was for advice to become a certain type of high value man that Rollo isn't saying everybody needs to become.
It said the quickest.
So, the quickest way to get to this part, it was the advice to do that, but he wasn't necessarily advising you to do that, right? It would be like him.
I think the problem is that Rollo is such a influential figure in the space. And so by just putting out a tweet and it just seeming to look like advice, there will be people that will want to do those things because Rollo said so. There's a fine line of doing and saying things when you have this much influence that it could be used in a specific way. If you put out something but you mean it to be this way, or you don't mean it for someone to actually do, but because it's out there and someone sees it, they're going to do it. There will be those people that will do it because you said so. And so that in my opinion, that's where that's the problem. I think that's the actual issue. I feel like if it wasn't meant to be advice, there probably should have had some sort of label that it's not advice, because people will take it as advice and people will do these things not knowing the consequences of the actions that they're making. If there are things there that they don't want to technically be doing, but they're going to do it because that Rollo said so. There should be a fine line there, at least in my opinion. It's just based upon being accountable for the actions that you do. Rollo's a smart guy, but at the same time, he also got to be careful about the things you do and say, because you have so many people that I wouldn't say blindly, but people that follow you may not be as competent as others that will do these things just because you said so. So it's a double-edged sword.
Him tweeting out, like, if you want to become the flattest person possible, jump off a cliff. And I say, well, is that advice to jump off a cliff? Well, if you want to be the flattest person possible, but you don't have to do this thing because you don't have to be the flattest person.
Statement.
Yeah, exactly. Sure.
Well, and the other
Which is,
thing
I
is, I mean, there's a few people who got it almost immediately. Hotep Jesus got it immediately. He did stream it. Jedediah Bila, while you were on with Jedediah, she got it immediately. She's like, I know Rolo. I know he's not like this. I know this is a troll. This is she understood
I mean, that
it
could be
immediately.
true, but then I also saw you.
She's familiar with my background.
I also saw you tweet the next day, like you were kind of making fun of the TradCon way of life, saying that you want to be at your funeral bed with a bunch of kids around.
I was
saying that you would rather be listening to metal in your car.
That's how you want to
go.
I was mocking the idea of this sort of pastoral kind of Norman Rockwell fantasy of dying on your bed with, like, as an old man, with surrounded by grandchildren and whatever, and like as if that's like my funeral's going to beat your funeral,
right?
As if it's like
heavy metal in a car.
It's I put it this way: would you rather go out in a blaze of glory? Was it better to burn out than fade away? What would you rather?
I don't see heavy metal in your car as a blaze of glory. That seems
okay.
Right, but it's subjective.
Here's the thing: it's over the top because I'm drawing attention to this fantasy of staying in your bed in an assisted living facility when 90% of people are never going to experience that. But it's a fantasy that we sell people so that we can sell them other ideologies.
I want to consider one other thing. You remember what he said earlier? He's like, one of the things you said was avoid family creation. Had I written that same tweet, what I would have said instead was be the one who chooses when and where you have kids, and don't let
control the birth.
Control the birth.
Wow, imagine that.
Well, I understand. Yeah, so I understand.
The extreme example of that is a vasectomy. I would not have said vasectomy, but guess what? My tweet would not have gone viral. I wish I could say vasectomy on Twitter all day and go fucking viral.
That's the only thing they focused on.
So I understand what you're saying now. So I would argue that you do pay dues to some extent to certain groups that you're a part of. So this is something that I noticed being relatively outside of groups myself. I kind of watch how people move through groups, and it seems like there very much is a kind of there are a lot of groups that exist in these internet communities, and you get benefits for being part of the group because you kind of inherit audiences and cross-pollination from other people. And then there are sometimes shitty parts of being in the group. So for instance, if somebody says or does something crazy, well, now you're kind of on the hook for it because this motherfucker in your union just said some wild shit, and now you kind of have to go to bat for him. I think that something that I wholeheartedly disagree with is this idea that you can say, like, well, everybody in my comment section might say this, but I didn't say that, or I'm just making descriptions. Humans never just make descriptions. We never just observe things. The process of choosing to observe something already requires a decision to be made, right? When you go into a laboratory to study medicine, we're not just plugging random chemicals and random elements into a formula and see what happens. We're doing something to try to figure out, like, well, what is going to help make humans healthier? What's going to be a good medication for treating a disease or whatever? That's typically what we do. So when we're analyzing, like, the red pill, it's not just a praxeology, I think you called it, because even I think in your first book, you say, like, the goal is to make it so that your wife is not fucking the alpha, right? The reason why we observe things is so that we can take something useful from it and then go and do something with it. If I had an audience and I was making certain observations, and this has happened a lot, where I fight with a lot of black people, I notice my audience is getting a little bit racist. I fight with a lot of white people, I notice my audience is also getting a little racist. I fight with a bunch of women, they're starting to hate women, right? I notice that, like, if I do certain things, my audience definitely responds in certain ways, and your guys as well.
But you're not racist.
But it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, I think what matters is the impact you have on other people around you. Like, if I go every day and I see my wife and I'm like, hey, what's up? And it's not at the end of like 6 months, she's like, you haven't told me that you think I'm pretty like a single time. Yeah. And I'm thinking, like, okay, well, obviously I think you're pretty. You're my fucking wife. It's like, well, I need to hear it. I can't just say, like, well, listen here, you stupid bitch. Obviously I think you're pretty. I don't have to say shit to you.
Yo, listen here, you stupid bitch.
Motherfucker. Right. I was like, okay, I have to understand how you feel. I've got to tell you that I think you're beautiful, blah, blah, blah. I have to do that every day. Because that's part of, like, what really matters at the end of the day is the impact you have on another person.
Should you be held accountable for the racist comments in your from your streamers?
Like, directly, like you said them, no. But if you're fostering a certain type of audience, I think as leaders, which whether or not we want to believe it, to some extent we are, that's how we're treated, right? We're paid. When somebody gives you, like, we'll say on one end, well, I don't influence my audience. And then in the next breath, somebody will be like, I'll give you X $1,000 to promote a product. Why are you promoting the product? Because if I tell you to buy it, I know you will. Yeah. Right. So obviously we have influence
by their audience, Yeah. You literally get addicted to these shows and you watch them constantly, trying to learn something. But, as I said, you got to be very careful with how much you're consuming and make sure it's helping you, just. You don't want to get influenced in the wrong way. Sometimes we're influenced in negative ways, even though we think it's in a positive way, and it's very detrimental to us. So just got to be careful. You got to balance everything out with real life and the internet, because the internet could be consuming more than you know. Just like when you scroll and then 2 hours goes by, you got to be very careful. You got to be very mindful on everything you do.
Yeah, exactly. These guys here, they technically have so much influence over their audience, and so anything that they say and do, if it doesn't come out the way that it should, then it can negatively affect people's lives, and and certain things that are happening, people, all the stuff that trend on Twitter, and people that might blindly follow like certain advice, not knowing that this might not actually work for them or anything like that, or it might not be good for their, for long term, whatever. You gotta know exactly what you want to say, how you want to say it, and understand what this thing could, how it could influence your audience and all those types of things.
Influence of our audience. And if our audience is all heading in a certain direction, I think it's important to be like, hold on, guys. I see you guys are saying a lot of this shit. Maybe we need to pull it back. So when you say things about like avoiding family creation, you might say like, well, I don't actually mean to avoid it. I just mean to choose when you have children. Yeah. That might be the case, but broadly in the red pill speak.
Also, let me also say this, because I think we say this a lot, especially when we have to talk about people like Andrew Tate. You should not take these people's words as gospel, and you should be listening to the things that they say, the ideologies. Think about them in your own terms, and then apply them within your own terms in your own life. You shouldn't be trying to copy and paste exactly what they do and just do it that way, because 9 times out of 10 that does not work out, because everyone is different and everyone's situations are different. And so you should just take the broad concepts of what they talk about, understand them, and understand how to function, in the real world with these practices and ideologies or whatever, and just do the things on your own terms. Don't try to be these people, because you're not being yourself if you're being these people. So just do the things that you want to do, but also understand and apply these things that they're talking about. Don't try to just be them.
Speaking, I've seen this huge push where it's like, never fucking have kids, never get married, women are trying to steal your shit, child support, alimony, women are coming after you. And it's like, okay, well, combine that with the vasectomy advice or the, control your birthing advice, and it makes the relationship seem very adversarial, like you are trying to avoid having kids at all costs. That's what it feels like, I guess, from the outset. And I think that's what a lot of the followers of Red Pill people and comment sections, I think that's the message they would carry forward.
I think the issue is then who's responsible? Because one of the issues, one thing we tried, Rollo and I tried, is our show, we try to have girls on there who have master's degrees. We try to have girls on there who do all different kinds of jobs. And when we do, we get the exact same response. When we had Miss Nevada on there, Miss Nevada, and they were like, yeah, she's a ran through fucking hoe. And I was like, what the fuck can we do?
We have women on there with master's degrees.
What can we fucking do? And so the thing is, while I agree with you, no matter what we do, this audience still exists and they still talk about it.
Yeah, but why do they think that? Why do they think that about these people?
The thing is,
because
they don't learn. They're not actually learning from this stuff. They're just mad, and they're not becoming better people.
You're just using it as entertainment.
Yeah.
Want something to complain about. They want something to bitch and moan about.
Yeah, but they could complain about anything, right? They're choosing to complain about these particular subjects.
I also don't think commenters are the normal in the middle of the distribution. I think commenters are on the extreme ends of the distribution, which is why I personally don't feel super responsible for some of the idiotic things that they say. So I do understand what you're saying. Are we fostering an echo chamber? We specifically aren't. Well, like our job, people
think we're soft on the girls because
constantly
we don't.
They think we are
because
so soft on the girls.
We're not like in their face too much, because they're looking for blood. They're looking for something that's exhilarating. They're looking for Jerry Springer,
But how many people do you think saw that tweet, and whether or not you call it advice, saw that and are now going to apply it? Especially because we talk about how important it is as leaders. You call yourself the godfather of the red pill. Like you kind of own this ideology in a sense, like you are the forefront of it. So is tweeting that a good idea?
I think I put first off, it was meant to provoke. That's number one. And it did. I got Matt Walsh, I got Ben Shapiro, I got Lauren Shannon. We wouldn't even be talking about this right now.
I don't have any of those people retweeting my shit. That's the only thing I'm saying. Like I retweeted vasectomy 5 times on Twitter.
And we're still talking about it 2 weeks later. It was success. It was a
Can we add in what Twitter's used for, by the way? And you yourself said so as well. You want to go viral, you got to say the most outlandish things. So Twitter,
I would say,
but if that was really the only reason, then you wouldn't have gotten that debate and got so emotional about everything that happened. You would have started. You called us fucking idiots. You called us douche. And also, if it was just in order to,
because you weren't getting it, that's why.
Well, then you would have been rubbing your hands and be like, okay, I got the reaction I wanted. Here they are talking about it. Ben Shapiro, all these people are talking about it.
It's not your fault, but to be fair, he did a reaction video where he said he was married for 50 years. I'm a cokehead, and Justin Waller pays for prostitutes.
Damn.
So that to be fair, there was a little ad hominem attack on us. You weren't part of it, but that's probably where some of this came from.
I would have taken that if I were you.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, because you wouldn't be here for it. You're fucking 2 hours late, Fresh. Shut the fuck up.
I've never out to the moderator. Thanks, moderator. So going back, because so Sneeko, you have some traditional conservative beliefs. So you disagree with the whole vasectomy part. What is the main, I guess, issue with it? Is it because of the lack of family creation? You think that's going to lead to
I think he thinks
I
I'm
think
influencing
the
people, right?
the two branching paths that I set up,
So you
like, what are you
can't-
guys advocating for? Like, do you think if a guy could do it, if a guy could be 25 at the head of his career, starting right there, about to go down his life, but also pair with a really good woman who he could have kids with, and then by the time he's in his 30s, he's already got like 7, 8, 9-year-old, a couple children with a good wife. Is that something you guys would push for? Or do you think that men should stay as far the fuck away from that as possible and wait till they hit those prime years of being like 35?
I think men should just do whatever they want. I think that
I agree.
should you do this or that? Is there a gun in my head? Do I have to make this decision? I said it depends on who you are, depends on your personality, depends on what you want, depends on the optics of your life, it depends on what you really want to go after, depends on who you are, your boundaries, your principles, your standards, your morals. There's so many things about you that inflicts your decisions and what you want. If you're 25, want to get married, cool. Just make sure you're doing it properly. The best way possible, and don't rush into things just for the sake of pussy. Yeah. And if you want to stay single for a while and build your stuff, cool. Just have a good time and you know, just
be smart about it.
Yeah, just be honest about who you are, what you want. And just trying to fly about everything. You got to be a man about it. Got to own it.
Exactly. Everyone is different, and you know, everyone will go through things in different ways. You know, you can't control the things that people do. Like, if I wanted to get married, you know, at 25, you know, no one's going to force me to not do that. Like, I have the power, I have the control. And if I'm smart enough to know if the person that I'm wanting to marry is the right person to do that with, and the right person to have kids with and everything like that, then and I know that this is the right thing to do for myself, and I know that this will benefit me in specific ways, then I'm going to do that. I'm not going to not do that, even though I have this opportunity to, just because someone said that I shouldn't. Like, I'm going to do it if I feel like that it's necessary for myself and that I can sustain something that I want to build through that. It's all based upon your own personal goals and the personal things you want to do. Like, you don't have to not be with somebody to try to grow and try to do all these things. You know, you might believe that these things might get in the way of doing that, but if you know yourself and you know what you can get through and you can push through and what you can accomplish by doing all these different things, you can still accomplish many things. It doesn't matter. The thing is that you can't put everybody into a one person mold. Everyone is going to be slightly different in how they want to do things. If you give them a chance to give them a choice and let them find the choice that they believe works for them best, that's probably best case scenario, honestly. Right. It's just a matter of being competent enough to know what works for you and what doesn't.
So the answer would be somewhere in the middle. I think it's how over time, because I think social media has ruined things so much. If you know, the whole thing where we talk about 33% of men having 0 sexual partners, that hockey stick starts at the advent of the Facebook app on the iPhone in 2008. You can see it just shoot right up to where it was 12% of men or 16% of men with 0 sexual partners, and it got up to 33. So the thing is, what's happened now is, I would say it's statistically less viable, not unviable, but less viable for the 24-year-olds to marry the 21-year-olds and feel good about it, because by the time she's 31 and he's 30, or she's 31 and he's 34, 35, the dynamics of his relationship are going to change. He's going to make more money. He's going to see the world differently. Now, I'm not advocating he leave his wife, but now those pressures existed where they didn't exist before 2008.
Sure. So so I would push back against this strongly. So here's something that I've noticed, okay? People ask me, so I talk to a lot of women, I do my thing or whatever. When people ask me, like, what do you think is the best advice for, like, learning game? Okay? Honest to God, the best advice is when you're, like, 12 to 18, having friends that are girls. Talking to women, not being nervous around them, dating in high school.
You're not going to get any argument from this guy.
Okay, yeah, I don't know if you believe that or not. But honestly, that's the best time to do it. The second best time is now, right? Yeah. But if you're not starting early and you're 25, and you've never even been shot down by a girl before, that's literally the scary. You could get a guy to climb the Empire State Building before asking a girl out.
So immersion from women, being around women.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And those warm spaces where dating and everything is possible, right? Yep. But the issue is when we push on this grind set shit so hard, and now you're getting a guy that's like 32, and he goes out on a date with a girl and he wants to talk about like white papers for crypto coins. How the fuck is this guy going to be in a spot in his life where he's ready to like find a woman, settle down with a family? Like, how does he turn that on instantly?
The grind set guy doesn't mean you don't talk to women ever. It just means you're not looking to get married.
Well, one of those pieces of advice, like eliminate all sedations or whatever.
So what that means is like eliminate pornography, eliminate alcohol, eliminate prescription, opioids, whatever.
How do feminist women not fall under the category of sedations?
Feminist women.
Yeah. How do these women? How do hoes, for example, if you're talking about porn as a sedation, drugs, and everything like that, can't you group hoes directly into the category of sedation?
You mean loose women or feminist women? Is that what you're saying?
Exactly, because you're not looking for anything further than that. It's just a way to get some dopamine release and just have a little bit of fun. It's pretty much equivalent to playing a video game or watching porn. It's not anything like maybe you learn a little bit about hoes.
Andrew, please, what are your opinions on that?
I mean, it depends on, a lot of guys spend too much time focusing on the girls and not enough time on themselves, and it's unfortunate. But the thing is, it's all about time management, really.
Yeah, and having a happy medium.
A lot of guys don't realize that if you just want to have sex, like just sex, and you want to focus on yourself, there are girls out there that are just down to have quick sex and then leave.
A lot.
And trust me on this. Many won't believe me, but it's out there. I met up with girls and literally I'll hang out with them for about 10 minutes. Because I look like a busy day, only got a little bit of time. Just find that, okay, let's just have sex real quick, maybe like 20 minutes, because I like to have a little fun. Like 20 minutes, and then I gotta go to bed. I gotta be up for the gym in the morning. Like there are girls out there that are just down for some quick sex, even locally. So, but if you're, so number one, it's about knowing what you want, and knowing what stage you are in your life. So if you just want sex, just be straight up with the girls, and you got to seduce them a little bit.
Yeah. You
got to have some game and a mouthpiece to do that, but which a lot of guys don't have. But you can have if you work on yourself and get to that level.
Yeah, I mean, like if you focus on them so much, they can become a sedation. But
if you're being who you are and always working on yourself, then go. I mean, you got to work to get the girls. Not really work, but you know what I mean. You got to actually be confident and do your thing.
Yeah,
but just don't make goals your priority. You got to be your priority. You
exactly.
Goals
but if you don't do that, yes, they will become a sedation. They will be sedating you in general, because if you're not focusing on yourself and you're just calling up people to have sex with
everything is about
day,
balance.
Like
balance. Everything
is
about
the balance. If you can do the things that you want to be doing, and then also having sex with women casually, right? But not even that, but like you can learn so much by doing that stuff to then have better chances with other people and other interactions, not even just with it through intersexual dynamics, but like through jobs and stuff like that. Just being able to have conversations, understanding the world through other people, because you've told me so many different stories of so many different people. So it's interesting, and I understand where Sneako's going, and I understand that it can be, but I feel like if you know yourself and you know the things that you want and the goals that you have, and you stick to it, and you don't let yourself get too riled up into it, then you'll be fine.
Yeah, and don't think I'm perfect. Yeah, and I'm not perfect either. I'm not trying to make myself I can throw women away whenever. No, I'm not trying to make it seem like I know exactly all. I've made mistakes, and I spent too much time with women I should not have, and I've had my stages of being go crazy and like, oh yeah, I'll go do this. Like I've had like weeks where I have had sex with a girl every day, like a different girl every day, and it does get exhausting. It is very time consuming. So make sure you balance everything out with all parts of your life. Don't neglect one for the other. It's all about balance. It's all about knowing who you are, and it's all about organization in your own life and structure.
Yeah,
that you create for yourself.
But you're not going to get anything out of it.
I would say the difference is that it is far more difficult for guys to use that as a sedation than it is to say play World of Warcraft all day long, or it's to go drinking.
I don't know, man. I'd push back on that too. I think we all know guys. I think we all know guys.
You're in the gamer set. I got it.
Well, no. I'm saying I think for the girl set, I think we all know guys that have thrown their life away doing dumb girl shit. Whether you end up knocking somebody up, whether you get a crazy
half the reason shows like this exist is because guys aren't fucking getting laid. That's why. So
yeah, but I think Sneeko brings up a really good point that when you say eliminate,
I think it's less of a less significant than say some other forms of sedation. So when I'm talking about sedation in the tweet itself, people have I've said this a million times, is like, if you want to actually get up and actually become something and be something better, this is like where I finally get into like something like a positivity hustle, right? It doesn't matter if you learn all this stuff, you read all my books, you do all this shit. None of it matters if you can't get your ass out of bed. If your shitty real life is worse than your online escape life, that's what I'm talking about. That's the sedation right there. So could it be that you're a sex addict? Yeah, it can. But I would say those guys are probably far less common than the guys who are smoking weed, prescription drugs, pornography,
I would argue
whatever
that it's actually a worse sedation just based on the fact that you're saying get a vasectomy, because the consequences are much worse than any of the other sedations.
You're talking about sleeping around with a lot of women.
I mean, the consequences are much worse, obviously, because you're advocating for getting a vasectomy, because you could have a kid with this girl. Right. It's way more expensive. It's a bigger time suck. You're going to be drinking. You're going to be in environments that aren't going to be uplifting you whatsoever. You're in clubs all the time. You're around women that you don't really like. You get angry because you have to deal with, like, Myron always jokes about how he's going bald doing the show all the time because these women will suck away your soul. And really, what's the outcome of it? A nut? Is that really, like, how many times did you go and fuck a girl and you're like, that was really worth the last 2 weeks of my time of texting back and forth, taking her out on dates, spending all this money, getting dressed, listening to her stupid conversation about astrology? Like, is that really something worth advocating for? How is that a better sedation than weed, than porn, than video games?
I'm the wrong person to ask. I love women. I love fucking hanging out with them. I don't have the same opinion or whatever.
I mean, I love alcohol, but I quit. Like, there's a lot of things.
I've never drank before. That's the other thing. I've never tried Coke, by the way. That's the other thing. So I'm with you.
You're missing out, okay?
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, sedations are great. I've done all the sedations.
Yeah.
I used to watch porn.
But here's the thing. If some people could say the gym is a sedation. The thing is, if you were going to rank the sedations, I would rather say a guy going out there and getting himself in shape, learning how to dress, learning how to talk to women, putting some bass in his voice, and actually going out socializing with other people, getting over his fear of approaching women is a healthier sedation to me than pornography. That's just if we're going to rank sedations.
Well, and then I was going to say, like, other people are more addicted to a certain sedation than others are. If that is significant in your life and you're like, hey, you know what? I'm a sex addict. All I'm doing is going out and picking up random hoes all the time. And I've finally got it down to a science, and it becomes a problem. And it's like affecting other aspects of your life. Then yeah, I would say that's a sedation that you need to like find, because it's an escape. I think sedations tend to be escapisms, is what I'm saying.
I think the contradiction this Nick was pointing out is that, like, you're, by definition, you're removing from the table all the women you would want to court for marriage because you're avoiding family creation.
Nobody courts anymore.
Well, when I say court, I mean, like, you're dating to get like married, right? Mm-hmm. So you're removing all those girls. So the only ones left are the 304s, necessarily, if you're trying to focus on the grind set, but then also have fun with girls on the side. So then at that point, it seems like you're engaging in women the same way somebody would engage with like weed or whatever. You're not doing it for like
you can date a woman you want to have kids with and not have kids with her. Like, eventually have kids.
I mean,
at some point you will have kids.
So then the vasectomy thing doesn't make any sense.
Okay, and also, it would depend on the age too. Because if you're like,
I think it was hyperbole what he was saying.
Okay. I think if like you're both in your early 20s and you're like, I don't think I want to have kids till I'm 35. That's a tough sell for a lot of women.
Unless you date someone who's younger.
Sneaka, if there was a male form of birth control like Vasogel or something like that, and instead of saying vasectomy, and I said do this and take this, and it's not a permanent thing, you can always go back off of it.
No, because I think that's what we should be fighting when it comes to red pill and tradcon. That's like, it's a similar common enemy that's trying to sedate us in a way. Birth control for women, it messes up their hormones, it makes them extremely argumentative. They get weird, they get on different cycles. I don't advocate you to take these pills. I tell people all the time not to get the injection. Like, why would you go and listen to these pharmaceutical companies? Why would you let them win and go play into these games and pretty much just chase dopamine? Then you're becoming a rat for these big companies, for big pharma, when you could just like actually have like, that's the point. That's the reason that sex exists, is to have children. Then you're completely removing the purpose of it, and then you're just chasing dopamine.
Can I chime in and just add something here real quick?
Moderator.
Yes, moderator.
Plan B.
What's up, moderator?
Moderators. 2 words. Plan B.
You know, here's the thing. While I agree with you now today at 45, I will tell you, like, I wasn't a whore because nobody fucking liked me. But at 25, I wanted to have sex with pretty girls. That's what I did. And I don't feel like it ruined me. That's the only thing.
Well, so do I. Yeah. Like, every day, but there's better things to do with your time and with that sexual energy. Like, you can focus that into becoming better.
Do you not think at all, though, that period of time helped you understand women better?
I'm 24. I'm still
learning.
Damn, he's 24. What the fuck?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I will tell you at 45, and I used to work in nightlife, and I used to, be a military officer, a bunch of different jobs.
24.
And I will tell you that, like, the value that I gained from having so many women in my life, not necessarily just for sex, but my ability to communicate with them now is 100. Like, I do the red carpets for all these different parties, and I bring 100 girls to Bulgarian's house. Like, that's what I do now because I'm good at doing that now. I look back at that and I say that was a good experience for me. I didn't necessarily have to have sex with all of them, but I do understand what you're saying. The problem is where I differ from you and maybe from Myron is like, I don't hate being around them. I actually fucking really like being around some of them. They're fun. They're crazy. And they're just fun to be around. I just don't want to marry them. You understand what I'm saying? Like that's the difference for me. It's like Juicy J says, I still love these hoes. They're for everybody, but I love them. Anyway, that's the way I look at it. I mean, maybe it's just a little different.
Yeah,
the way
you see them purely as entertainment, but I think it's better to see
but
them.
I don't hate them either. You understand what I'm saying?
But you're not really, it's better to see them as people.
Yeah, that's how I see them. Exactly.
You're seeing them as entertainment.
Well, no, I think the difference he's trying to point out is that you made it sound like because you said like 2 weeks of texting this bitch to get to the payoff of sex. He sounds like he enjoys the texting.
I fucking loved all of it.
Yeah, which I do too, right? It's fun to like hang out with women.
I was in a stage of abundance, and also my lifestyle is a little different. It's big parties that we go to, huge events,
which is just a bigger, grander sedation. That's no different than really watching.
I think it's networking though. Like I've met some incredible. I wouldn't be sitting here right now had I not done that. It was Andrew Tate who reached out to me, introduced me to Justin Waller, who introduced me to him, and that's how I introduced Myron. So I don't see it that way. I see it as a goal, an ends to a means, and also the other thing is, and dude, Walt will tell you this too. Having beautiful women around you is one of the most incredible networking techniques that exists.
That's true.
There's an incredible book by Professor Ashley Mears at Boston University, where she talks about the guys who go to the Hamptons, and the ticket to get into every party at every Hamptons house with all the billionaires was to have girls.
Right.
So that's why
that's going to lead you to a fun life.
Yeah.
But I was talking to Adam 22 recently, and he has his own porn thing too. I don't know if he was allowed to
plug talk.
Yeah, he has plug talk and everything like that. I was recently talking to him because he's been posting a lot of pictures of his daughter and stuff like that, and I always like react to it.
I thought he had sex with children or something.
Oh God.
I don't know. I don't really know what actually. I don't think that's true, but I don't know.
How much longer do you want to keep going for?
Let's go through this last section right here.
I'm like, that's dope. Like he clearly cares about being a good father. And I had this conversation with him, and he said that after being with 400 women, doing all this show, like I asked him, like, was it really worth it all? But he's like, there's nothing better than having kids. Yeah. And even that's coming from a guy who's clearly been a sex addict, who did all this stuff. He went on my stream and he was talking about all these crazy threesomes, and he's like, he very public about all this stuff. And he's saying there's nothing better than having a family and having a kid. Even this guy that's like slept with all the girls, like everybody in the chat, you watch like the top porn stars, he's been with them. And that does not compare to having a family. So yes, okay, does
he regret it? Does he regret?
Yeah, because one thing could be better than something else, but it's still really fun, right?
It's not about regret. It's about advocating what's best for the young male audience and for the future generation. So is it better to advocate towards vasectomy so you can go to Dan Bilzerian parties, or better to advocate like become competent men, raise a good family, have strong children, and then your life is going to be, that's the best life.
I think it's a great life. I don't know if it's the only good life. I think there's a lot of people who just don't want to have children. I think we've seen it all the time, and they're happy. The thing is, if I were to look at it from the book of Leviticus or the book of Genesis, or if I were to look at it from the Quran, you're right. That's not a great life. But I think for other people, they can enjoy life without
the only
doing
people that don't want to have kids have been psyoped by the bigger agenda to believe that climate change and all these other external factors, that's the reason they don't want to have kids. It's all a lie. That's the reason we're here, is to procreate. That's all animals. You're like an evolutionary.
Let me ask you this. Let's take it to the next level. Let's say you're married. Okay, you found the one. You're with your girl, right? Is having sex with her without procreation, is that also an escape? Is that now a sedation? If you're not doing it to specifically have children, is it then a drug addiction?
Right, but then it becomes a unity between a mother and a father.
So how is that not an escape, though?
Because it's still always
you're enjoying it, though, and it's not procreation. Though.
Right, but there's always the risk of procreation. Like, that's the point that you do it. There's always the possibility.
Would you use birth control with your wife if you didn't want to have kids?
No, I would never get my wife on birth control. Absolutely not.
No, I think condom. He's including
yourself.
Any kind of birth control.
Any kind. Vasogel, condom, whatever. Any kind of
sure, it is a form of escapism to some extent, but it's better than spending your time with a bunch of women that you don't respect or like or even consider as really people.
Okay, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, because I hear this quite a bit these days. Is like the most extreme end? I'm not saying like Islam, but like a lot of these really super Orthodox Christian guys will say that any sex that is not for procreation is a drug addict. Yeah. It's drug addiction, or it's haram. Right? Anytime you're doing something to feel good, it's a dopamine release. Any kind of is any dopamine good?
I think between a husband and wife, then it's not just dopamine. It's something that you're connecting and you're establishing a relationship that's bigger. If you just do it with these hoes, like, you know that it's a one-time thing, you're thinking this dumb hoe, and then you're just going to kick her out. You're already thinking about it.
But we're talking about sedation at this point. So
yeah, but that's a sedation. That's a different level. Like, that's not a waste of time sedation. You're bonding with the partner. There's something that you're gonna create a future with this person. You're gonna see her the next day.
Maybe another way to say it is you're of one flesh now, like what it says in the Bible. And
to steal Sneako's point here, and I understand what he's saying. I think
All right. Before this guy starts to go off on a tangent, let's
so this has been interesting to watch.
time.
And well, you know, we're gonna stop here because we got some things to do. We do not get I forgot what I was gonna say, but brain fart. It's been a long day.
Yes,
but you know, it's very interesting. A lot of interesting points. I think it's interesting. It's good. It's a good idea to have these kind of conversations with different people, and it's good to have debates. And I support free speech, and everybody should be talking about these kind of hot topics. But you know, everyone should make up their own mind and really decide what they want to do in their life. Depending on anybody else's advice, or you know, you should find out what really makes you enjoy life to the max, and try to do your best to always be evolving. Exactly. And make sure you let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Mike, any final thoughts?
Yeah, no, I like I said during the stream, definitely if you don't just follow whatever all these guys say verbatim, just take what they say, apply it upon your life, and do as you would based upon you, because they're not you and you are not them. And the best thing to do is to just learn what they're trying to speak, and then see how it fits into your life and your situation, and how you operate, and become better by using the tools that they give you to make your life better. But yeah,
so let us know in the comment section what you guys think, and make sure you smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you've not already. If you want to donate to the channel and help the cause, you can donate to the Cash App in the description below. And we're going to see you guys in the next video or live stream.